Hello, my friends. I definitely very intentionally ended that video instead of pausing it so that I could make the physical board games that I played this year into a separate video. That will probably be easier to upload if I do it separately. So, getting right into it, these are all the physical games that I played with physical components, so board games, tabletop games, and I think the one I'll start with, which should be no surprise if you knew me at all this past year, is I got to play Riichi mahjong, and I just have my tile set here because it'd be a little silly to bring out my whole junk mat, which is the playmat you play Riichi mahjong on. If you don't know what Riichi mahjong is, it is a variant of mahjong, though specifically Japanese mahjong, as mahjong variants are typically localized. But Riichi mahjong has definitely been growing in popularity, and I think it's catching a lot of like steam in like the weeb world, but unfortunately, because it's so hard to there's no clients that aren't weeby gotcha barely dressed anime girls, unfortunately. So if you want to play online, you're probably looking at Mahjong Soul or Riichi City, which aforementioned horny gotcha. There's also some Tenho. I haven't figured out how to get Tenho to work, and also it looks boring. Why are my two options ugly and too horny? I don't know. I would live somewhere in the middle. Which is why I prefer playing Mahjong in person, because I did play Mahjong Soul and Riichi City a lot, and didn't talk about them in the last video, but I got to play Mahjong in person, which is one of my favorite things to do, and I used to play a lot more with Boston, well, not Boston specific, but Massachusetts Riichi Society, and they're awesome. Shout out Buckles, shout out the Chowder Bowl that's happening November 15th. Go register if you can, and you haven't, and you know how to play. But I love playing Riichi in person. If you're not familiar with Mahjong at all, this is a Mahjong tile. Maybe you've seen like the solitaire style, matchy Mahjong. I mean, who's to say what's real and not real Mahjong, but that's a solitaire game. Then there's also a mahjong. I call it a mahjong, NMJL, mahjong. Again, who's to say what's real and not real mahjong? And there's also some other variants. I know like Filipino mahjong, Hong Kong mahjong, Chinese mahjong, mahjong competition rules. Mahjong competition rules and Zhengyang are different because they're both like constructed. Like the rules are crafted a bit more intentionally, whereas like the more regional variants are kind of progressed with the natural spread of mahjong tiles in the 1800s, and then the rules are localized typically to country or region. Riichi mahjong is probably one of the more complex ones, and it is known for, I wish I brought a riichi stick out here. It's called riichi because you reach over your board, you reach with a point stick in order to place a bet on certain hands, and there's a lot of rules about whether you can win, because many types of mahjong are, can I make this decent sized hand or whatever as fast as possible, make as many calls as possible. Japanese mahjong riichi is a lot more thinky. You have to really understand the valid hands that exist, which is a bit really daunting for new players. I think it's the hardest mahjong to get people on board with. But it's so fun, it's so deep. I've never played Rummy Cube. I have taught some people who know how to play Rummy Cube, and they say it's kind of similar. I feel like if I ever learned Rummy Cube, I would just sit there being like, I could be playing Riichi mahjong instead. I love mahjong. It's a real brain scratcher. I would like to learn other varieties, but I love Riichi so much. I don't think I could ever not love Riichi mahjong. It's so deep. Every game is different. Every game is like every game is about like building a nuclear weapon and bluffing that you have one or don't to the other three players who are also trying to do the same thing. So it feels very Russian roulette. Maybe I shouldn't have said nuclear weapon. Anyways, it's very, very push your luck, very read the open information that's available to everyone, read the information in your hand, read what other people aren't doing, what they aren't discarding. Man, I love Mahjong. I'll try to keep everything to 5 minutes, but I got to play once a month, and once this month. I would love to play a little more frequently. Got to play with someone who is so much better than me, and just by playing and a little bit of like coaching here and there, it really brushed up some of my etiquette, as well as thinking how I think about flow of the tiles is not really real, but it's variance and reading the wall, and you're always thinking of mahjong. It looks very boring. It's four people sitting at a table, usually concentrating very hard and being silent, and then suddenly someone will discard something. And honestly, you're not supposed to do this. It's okay in casual play that someone will discard something and then everyone will scream. Someone will get that winning handoff. It's such an exciting game. It's almost like hot potato. Hot potato, Russian roulette, crafting a rake for your friends and loved ones and enemies to step on. That's riichi mahjong. Moving on to the next board game I played, let's talk about Wingspan Asia, which is an expansion to Wingspan. It shows all the components on the back. I'll show you that. But I won't unbox the whole thing, because the main thing that sets apart Wingspan Asia, and if you don't know Wingspan, it is a very well-themed bird game, Wingspan, where you are building an engine in your habitat in front of you, so kind of like a tableau builder. You're playing these cards in front of you that you draft and pay resources for, and you play these cards in front of you and gather resources, and it's... Shout out Elizabeth Hargrave. I think she's from Cambridge, Mass, actually. But it's a really well-designed game. I haven't tried Wormspan, which is the dragon-themed one, but I don't think she was as involved in that. And Finspan. She was definitely not involved in that, and I don't know if I'll play them. But the big thing that distinguishes Wingspan Asia apart is this duet board. And I think it fills in a gap that does exist in Wingspan. I don't see myself not playing the Asia expansion. It is meant for 2 players, which is nearly every game that I play is solo or 2 players, just because there's only one other person who is sometimes willing to play board games with me. Often, I shouldn't say sometimes, often willing to play board games with me, but not always of the same theme. We're not always the same theme-minded, but we did enjoy Wingspan Asia. The bird art is incredible. I think the action economy of Wingspan is you are placing you get a finite amount of turns every round, and to mark that you place these wooden cubes around, and it kind of feels like when you get to play a bird onto your board as opposed to one of the 3 resource getting types, it feels a little like, oh, I've played a bird and nothing happened. Wingspan Asia duet board solves that. After you play a bird, you get to kind of do this sort of, you must place a token onto the board that fulfills, criteria matching the bird you just played in order to place the duet token. And then you're also trying to make a contiguous line, but then there's also the event goals at the bottom. But yeah, I guess that my biggest critique is, one, the event goals at the bottom are so duet board specific that, I don't know, I think sometimes it'd be more fun to play with the base game tokens mixed in. As well as they use like little yin-yang tokens as the duet tokens. I'm not going to open the box right now and show you, but they're just meant to fit together, and like the whole point of the duet board is tokens can't fit together. So I don't know, that's not really a real critique, but it is like, oh, this would have been perfect. Yeah, that's Wingspan Asia. I didn't play it too often, I just did play it in October and thought it deserved a shout out. But it's a good game. I have it on Steam, because they give you a Steam code in the box if you buy it online. I also have a Board Game Arena subscription where you can also play Wingspan, and so I taught this to my loyal second player, but likely we're probably just going to play it online, the base game online, if we ever play it. Wingspan is never like, ooh, that's what I want to play tonight, It's decent. I like it. I'll probably keep it in my collection for a while, but I don't know. Next up, let me pack this box away. I took out the components that I wanted to show you, so let me just pack this away so I can show you the box. The next game is The Four Doors by lead designer Matt Leacock and Matthew Riddle and Ben Pinchback. I don't know those other 2 developers, but Matt Leacock, and even just the visuals of this box. If you know Matt Leacock, and you can see the foil effect there, there's a nice little rainbow. If you know Matt Leacock at all, you probably know the Forbidden Desert, Forbidden Islands, and Forbidden third other place that I've forgotten. And I'm pretty sure that was with a different publishing company. This is published with Happy Camper Games, also based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. This is a very Cambridge-heavy review I'm giving. Actually, wait, all of these games have a ties to... Anyways. Back to Four Doors. Let's talk about the theming first. Thematically, it very much reminds me of those 90s books. Like, I'm thinking like Ursula K. Le Guin's like YA fantasy series, and Tamora Pierce's Circle of Magic, Protector of the Small sort of series. There's not a lot of art, and the theming, like most board games, can come off, and it would still be a mechanically tight game. But I enjoy the theming. It makes me feel like I'm reading one of those YA books. That cast of characters is who you get to choose to be at the beginning of the game. Unless you're a solo player, then the solo player rules. Goodbye, prop mic. The solo player rules are you can switch out whoever you're using, and regardless, solo strategy or I am doing co-op, these are my two favorite cards to play. Shadowbinder and Summoner. Not only do I think they have the coolest art out of the 6 options, they also have the best powers that work very synergistically well together. And they're nice. I like them. That's the theme, is you're kind of like these heroes, and I think the concept is there is some tower, and there's 4 doors in the tower. Okay, roll credits, there's the name of the game. And at the top of the tower, there's this beacon card. And like nearly every other Matt Leacock game, maybe not every other, but the ones he's famous for, the Forbidden series, it is like a disaster mitigation game, while you also try to push your luck and choose between what you can do with your action economy to try to collect 4 cards of one color corresponding to one of the doors, so purple, yellow, green, or red door, which we'll get into accessibility later in the card colors. But once you get all of those things, then you move to the top of the tower. There's a specific spell card you need to have, and then you beat the game once you have all 4 artifacts from all 4 doors, and you flip this card over. And I think compared to the other Forbidden games, Matt really knows what he's doing at this point, and he really got what made those games good, and this is the most compact one yet. It's all cards and these little wooden worker tokens, which are just nice, bright, high quality worker tokens, and then just winning the game is just flipping this card over, which seems pretty simple, but just flipping over to the foil front I found to be really satisfying, especially as I dialed up the difficulty, and I have still, I think, only once beaten the hardest difficulty, and I was probably making some rule errors that benefited me. But it's it's luck-based, but it's you set up a puzzle, a random puzzle every single time. So you are collecting these cards from this deck, but after, some of them go into your hand, but some of them are shadows that are falling onto the doors, and if too many shadows of one color, more than 3, cover up a door, that door starts to close. And if that happens again, the door closes all the way, and if you don't have the artifact behind that door, so let's say, this is the door card that flips over, then you don't have enough time to get the red artifact before that door closes, and the game is over. So you have to sort of prioritize where you're moving. Oh, my components. 1 second. What was I saying? You kind of have to prioritize what you're doing and with what actions, and it's so quick to set up, faster than the other ones, because I only really played Forbidden Island and not Forbidden Desert or the other one. It's like a lot of tile flipping, and so you like lose and you're like, oh man, okay, time to put it away. This, you'll just be so close to winning, and then you push your luck, and then it works against you, and then okay, let me just reshuffle this deck really well and set it up again, and you're playing in a fresh game in a minute, 2 minutes. I'm a big fan. This had me in a chokehold for a couple of days. I just left it set up on the table and would play a couple games every day. Yeah, that's Four Doors. I think this came out actually fairly recently as well. I really enjoyed this. I don't see it leaving the collection anytime soon. It would be great for travel. Alright, last game is one that I was gifted, and I tried to look up a lot about this game, and all I could really find was a sort of like someone's like maybe first board game, and it was a Kickstarter. Dropped another component. Another Kickstarter game, and it's not great. But it's not good. It's not really good. It's not amazing. It's definitely rough around the edges, but I will probably be keeping this in my collection just for sentimental value from like the person who gifted it to me, as well as like it has heart. Like there's something here. But this is Five Paths, lovingly referred to as Spats when I played it. It is, I think, like an indie company. Let me just read off the credits, because again, this is a smaller game. Yeah. Nick Jackson, creator and game director, Kenny Kong, the illustrator, Zach Brown, graphic design and marketing, Robert Radkins, operations, Cole Short, logo and illustration, and Five Paths, Spaths, is a product of Loam Light Entertainment. So, indie Kickstarter game, rough around the edges. It's basically complicated chess. Let me see if I can take out the game board to show you what it is. But it wasn't not fun. It just doesn't feel like perfectly seamless. I don't mean perfectly seamless. It's rough around the edges, which I've already said. But this is the game board, and it is essentially the black team will be spawning in their units on reserve into here and progressing upwards, and the white team will be doing the same on the opposite side of the board. There are 5 types of piece, if you would. So like chess has pawns, rooks, knights, whatever, that all move in different ways based on what they are. Five Paths mimics that, and it has the Gale, the Torrent, the Arc, the Flash, and the Canto. Okay, interesting theming. I don't hate it, but these are the game pieces. What's important to know is this is orange, which means it's a Canto, and this is purple, which means it's an Arc. It's not the most seamless visual language coding, as well as the rules by which they can move. This is the quick reference sheet. So beyond a black background with very difficult to read font. Oh, that's a point I forgot to make about Four Doors. 1 second. Going back to Four Doors for a second. Decently colorblind accessible. There is red and green and other frequently mixed up, but they do have different door shapes. But I did find the mechanic of the lantern card on the door is different than the color of the door. But anyways, not bad accessibility. Going back to Five Paths, the accessibility, not the most legible rulebook. I did also find a couple typos in it, which is always like, and yeah, the Canto is easily the most complicated one. I don't even think I really understood how the Canto moves after reading through this and playing it once, and I could only convince my second player to play this with me once. I'm gonna keep this in my collection. I don't know who will be willing to play this with me. But yeah, the Canto, you know, if every single piece requires like 2 figures to understand, rough around the design edges. But they did get a finished product. They did get these like heat transfer colored tokens, and you basically move the tokens, and there's also a dice rolling component, so it's strategy, but also how well can you keep these rules that feel a little arbitrary in your head for each piece. It's not bad. Like, I have played, trust me, I have played worse board games. This is not a bad board game, but there's a reason it doesn't have a very great rating on Board Game Geek, I think, besides the devs probably rating it themselves. I think my second player went online and also rated it fairly, which I think is around a 6, which to me feels a little mean. It's probably honest to give Five Paths a 6 out of 10, but I like it. I don't know. I think the art is cute. I do appreciate, like, I do think the artwork is really awesome. And I don't know, you can tell there was heart and a lot of work went into it. And well, you know, they got the producible off the table onto shelves, and maybe it didn't thrive the way they wanted. I don't know. I still enjoyed it. If there's one Five Paths fan out there, maybe it's not me, but I'm sure there's someone. But yeah, those are the tabletop games of note that I played this month. I think next month I would love to play, I've been meaning to replay Beacon Patrol. Oh man, I forgot a 5th board game. I don't know if I should get it. Maybe. It's all the way. It's all the way in the back of the house. It's called Towers of Asara, which is so thematically Orientalist that it leaves the reality and is like less Orientalist and offensive as some other Euro games I've played. But this is like a 2010 German Euro game. You're building towers for the Caliphate in the lands of Mirais and Tyrios and these fake Latin worlds. Thematically all over the place, and not the strongest tower builder, but it was a pretty tight game. I had a good time with Towers of Asara. I think it was probably pretty hot in 2011. I found it for free outside, completely untouched, so it was fun to punch out all the components for that one, and it was a decent game, but I played it with my 2-player, and it was like, oh, okay, we learned this, probably not going to play it a lot. There's no way to really do a solo mode either. So yeah, these games, Tower of Asara, maybe I should give 8 out of 10 in my heart, 6 out of 10 in reality. Pretty damn close to a 10 out of 10. I don't know what I would do to improve Four Doors. Maybe it's a 10 out of 10, but that feels like maybe it is a 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10? I don't know. Don't ask me why it's a 9 out of 10. It's just not perfect. But maybe it is. 9.5 out of 10. Four Doors. Riichi mahjong gives me psychological damage on a daily basis. 10 out of 10. And Wingspan Asia, 7, 8. It's not bad. Okay, it is thematically, design, mechanics. It's a really tight game. It's probably an 8. I just don't have that much fun with playing. I guess it always feels like it's over a little too soon. But yeah, thanks for watching my physical board games, and maybe I'll make another one next month if my friends enjoyed watching this. Thanks!